Leaguers, how you going? It's your boy here, Dan at the B-League Says, coming at you with another Wednesday night special. I'm taking over again. I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm just going to hijack again. I know I did it last week, but guess what? I mean, joke's on you, buddy. The people want it. They want me to do all these Wednesday night shows. I'm just going to push you to the side. I don't care if you're still sick. I'm just going to take over your Wednesday night show. I hope you got my DM, Jeff. I told you I was going to do this. It is what it is. Here we are. But if not, it's 9:30 on a Wednesday night, and I just recorded when you were meant to be on. I know that sounds funny and a little bit more of the behind-the-scenes stuff that you guys don't care about, but hey, shit, here we are. We're doing this already. So as you guys know, I'm Dan. I am at the B-League Says. So I come at you with the B-League's Pick'em show normally a couple times a week, and I do them on a Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I get you those pre-recorded underdog fantasy prop bets out to you. But the last couple of weeks, we've had to put these all into one, pop out when our regular Wednesday night show is on. With Jeff and Ryan, they're missing another week. Jeff's been a little bit crook, and I'm going to fill in with this show. And as you can see, this is a pre-recorded show. Maybe the light behind me, unless I was in Hawaii. I'm pretty sure Mike was in Hawaii. So, Mike, if you're watching, hello. How you doing? It's probably 2 o'clock over there, but if not, this is where we are at the moment. We're on the East Coast. The sun's out, but really it's 9:30 at night when you're watching this. So I hope you're all well and you're moving forward from your election hangovers, whichever the side of the line you are. Stand on. This isn't the time or place, but I hope you're all doing well and coping however you cope. Good or bad, I don't really know, and I don't really give a fuck. It's none of my business. This place is a shit show, and I don't really care. So it doesn't matter what I think, say, or do. But what I do think, say, or do is care about your prop bets via Underdog Fantasy, or Underdog as they're known as now. Promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit up to 250 big ones. That's what we're here to do, is we're talking about props. And you can see from the tracker or the ticker down below, we are going to talk about Thursday night's matchup, which would be the Bengals at the Ravens, which is fantastic. So if anyone remembers this game a couple of weeks back, I'm going to start with a caveat. Just take Jamar Chase over on receiving yards, and then that's it. That's all we're going to bet on this week. I'm joking. But if you feel like you want to get on something, Jamar Chase over. I think you put on 200 on them. He's responsible for about 30% of the yards the Ravens have conceded this year. So Jamar Chase is going to have another big week, I would assume. Although at Baltimore, anything can happen. He's probably going to go off again, and so it doesn't really matter. But we're going to give 3 props for the Thursday night matchup. My voice is a little raspy, so bear with me as we go. I'm going to stop in between. And we'll figure it out from there. But as I said, Bengals at Ravens, very cool game last time this happened. But we're going to go Derrick Henry first of all, over. And this sucks because I hate going over the pronounced line. We were on him at 87.5 yards yesterday. This is Wednesday. This came out on Tuesday. He's now up to 92.5 rushing yards. I'm still going to go over. I think he's going to have another nice 100-yard game. I think that's going to happen. I mean, why wouldn't he? I mean, earlier this year, he punched him in the mouth for 92, okay, and that was on the road, and the line is 92.5. So I can see why, this is funny. We'll put 92.5 because he had 92 last time. Let's just make everyone freak out a bit. No, people were hitting the over on that pretty aggressively, and here we are. So, they've gone up again, and this is what we've had. Since then, he's had 3 games over 100, 3 games over 100 yards, 2 over 130 since he last played the Bengals with 92 on them alone. So he's had a pretty good run of form on his side. Now, if you want to look at the Bengals, they're middle of the pack versus running backs, but the only running back of note that they've met since Derrick Henry was Saquon Barkley, and he also put 100 on them. And you look at who they had. They had, I think, Nick Chubb against Cleveland in his return. They've had Alexander Madison. And I feel like they had Tyrone Tracy in there too. So not exactly, we're going to talk about Tyrone Tracy a little bit later. Lots of props and love to him from a Giants guy over here. But we're going to talk about who can do what. And you're talking about the elite of the elite having success on the Bengals and not just guys. Okay, we don't want to talk about Jags. We're talking about the elite. And Derrick Henry is, 101 touchdowns in his career, past that marker last week. He is fantastic. Pick number 2, I feel like this is, kicking a guy while he's down. We're going to talk about Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson has obviously been traded, since the last time I spoke to you guys, traded from Carolina to the Ravens. And we have his prop line here at 20.5 receiving yards. Now, how much in a short week? Obviously, he did nothing last week. Can we expect from this trade? He did nothing last week versus Denver and expect that to continue on a short week. So we're talking about 4 days later and all this is going to change. I don't think so. He's had a bit of good fortune versus the Bengals already this year. It's worth noting that for Carolina. He went 7 for 83 with the Panthers. So that's what we have. We know that he could do all right against the Bengals. So He did pretty good against them this year, and that was with, I think, Andy Dalton off the top of my head. So he's had some recent success against them. However, I don't think too much is going to change with his role this week against the division role. I don't think they're going to want to try and get spicy and shake the Bengals up with something new. I think they're just going to go with what works. If you don't like this prop again, Jamar Chase, hit the overs. Pick number 3 for this week with Thursday Night Football. Loose tight ends. We're going to get a little loosey-goosey here. We're going to get a little loose with our tight ends. Mark Andrews higher than 42.5 and Mike Gesicki higher than 44.5. Look, both teams, for what it's worth, have struggled to contain the tight end position, particularly the Ravens, who have given up the 3rd most yards per game to the position. We're talking about Mike Gesicki. Could be lined for another big game on a short week with T. Higgins most likely out. Eric All is done for the year with an ACL. And the run game of note, they've just added Khalil Herbert. How much we can add to that? Obviously, what's his name? Zach Moss, he's now done. He's on the IR with a neck issue. How much they're going to lean on Khalil Herbert and Chase Brown in this, I don't actually think that's going to be. I think they're just going to go with what works. It's going to be Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, maybe some pot shots down to Andre Iosivas. And that's about it. Maybe Chase Brown dump-offs in the backfield. I think that's what we're looking at. So with this environment last week, obviously with this cast of characters around him, went 5 for 102 this week in a tough positional matchup against the Vegas Raiders. So he actually did better against a tougher matchup. And we're not talking about how much they've added. This is what they've had. In regards to Mark Andrews, there's currently no Isaiah Likely option available. And I think that says a lot about what we think of the Ravens. He's kind of fallen off the face of the earth since his week 1 explosion. And that was on Tuesday, so there's still nothing there today. So that says a bit. But still, the Bengals give up the 7th most yards per position, but have given up a total of 5 touchdowns as well to tight ends. So if you're feeling like the yards prop at 42.5 for Mark Andrews isn't what you want, you could go with over half a receiving touchdown. I think he might get there in that regard too. It might be a nice week for him in that regard. But look, this is a divisional rival. It's worth noting in his last 10 matchups with Cincinnati, he's only failed to hit this marker twice. Okay, he's only failed to hit 42.5 receiving yards against the Bengals twice in his last 10 matchups. This year feels a little different. And I think we can sense that obviously the car crash at the start of the year preseason, and then it took him a while to get going. With Andrews, he's only hit 42.5 in 3 out of 9. And not since week 6 has he done so. So, we're talking about a guy that struggled this year for form. It might have been the delayed start of the season, introduction of Derrick Henry, new offensive coordinator. What's that, the 3rd offensive coordinator in 4 years or whatever it may be. They've had a few that have come and gone. He just might not be the guy's cup of tea, but it's worth noting that he has had a lot of historical success against them. They do struggle against the position, and they do give up a fair few touchdowns as well. So in that regard, if you don't like the yards, go the touchdown prop instead, and you'll be fine. Wow, that was easy for Monday Night Football. We're going to look at the Sunday Week 10 slate. As we are, the throat's starting to hurt a little bit. Bear with me, Cardinal Sin, drinking on air. Not my problem, but it doesn't matter because we're doing this for the Wednesday night show. Let's see if Jeff got back to me. He has not. That doesn't matter. We're going to keep going as if everything's normal and everything's fine. It doesn't matter. Hi, Jeff. How you doing? Either way, we're going to talk about this week's games. Now, we're going to start off with 5 props for the Sunday slate. You guys know how this works. This would normally come out on a Saturday. And again, it's a pre-recorded show. You guys know this. As always, underdogfantasy.com. Promo code GF2 for 100% match deposit up to $250 on the initial outlay. That's what we're going with. And what are we going with first? We're going to go with a giant prop. I don't know why. Why am I doing this with football? Why am I picking on the Giants? I don't know why I do it. It doesn't really matter. We're going to get on Tyrone Tracy. I said we're going to talk about him before. We're going to talk about Tyrone Tracy, the rookie running back out of Purdue, higher than 70.5 rush yards versus Carolina. But remember, they are playing in Munich. Tschüss. That's goodbye. Hello. There we go. Willkommen in München. I think that's it. Willkommen in München, New York. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. My German's not too scratchy, but das ist ein Berliner. I'm from Berlin. It doesn't matter. We're going to go 70.5 rush yards versus Carolina in Munich. Look, I'm not a Giants homer. You guys know me by now. I've been doing this for 7 or 8 years. I hate the teams that I support. Man United, hate them. New York Giants, hate them. Mets, I don't know why I bother. This is where I'm in life. It doesn't even matter. It is what it is. The Knicks, actually, I like the Knicks. They're kind of fun. Even when they're bad, they're kind of fun because, I like it. I like to have a good laugh. But it doesn't really matter. Just me looking at the worst run defense in Carolina Panthers, giving up over 130 yards per game to the position on the ground per week. They stink. That's what we're at. Tracy's been somewhat of a revelation, giving me Alvin Kamara-like feelings. He's not him. Don't misquote that, but I'm just saying he comes across as that sort of a guy. He's very good with his hands, obviously converted wide receiver to running back, kind of a lanky sort of a unit, but he kind of gives me that vibe of Alvin Kamara. That's how he can be used. He's had a great rookie campaign. He's above expectation. However, beware, he's only gone over 70 rushing yards twice this year. Let's not just assume that he's had this one massive game and that's the norm. It's not the truth. He's only had 2 games over this marker this year. And, if that bothers you, check out his rush attempts. Anything over 15 and a half, I'm interested in. That'll come out towards later in the week. He's actually got a lot of props out for him at the moment. So that's where I'm at with him. Pick number 2, I feel like, again, it's kind of like a very easy bet to make in that regard because I love the player. I think he's fantastic. But I'm going to lean on the side of caution. I've got my Dr. Jim Ferretti in my ear telling me, what are you doing, Dan? What are you doing? All right. So we're going to go lower on Nico Collins, lower than 71 and a half receiving yards versus Detroit. Now, I'm not saying that he can't get to this mark based off limited work because the last time we saw him, he literally went 2 for 71. And is it a surprise to see his marker at 71 and a half? Vegas thinks you're stupid, but it doesn't matter because it's just what he's done. We know that off 2 catches, he can beat this marker. That's beside the point, right? I am, however, more so leaning on the ideas that players coming off hamstring injuries, not only, being what they are or were straight away, I'm leaning towards caution and the odd chance of re-aggravation. I don't want to be a downer, but, is he really running at 100% this week? No, not at all. He's not doing anything. They're going to keep him in cotton wool. They're going to say he missed practice again, and he's going to be fine on Sunday. But, all he has to do is go out and sprint once, and that thing is going to ping. We see this all the time with hamstrings and re-aggravation. This happens always, almost always, all the time. And we act like, oh, my God, why did I bet the over? The bet was there. It's 71 and a half for Nico Collins. Every week of the year is a given. However, every week of the year after a hamstring injury layoff, I can't quite get behind. And I'm just really not there in that regard. Aside from that, and I really want to reiterate how much I hate this bet, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is a perfect matchup for him against Detroit, who in shootouts, they love this sort of thing. Receivers, they absolutely crush. First of all, aside from that, I'd normally be on, but I'd rather wait till the end of the week just to see where he's at. But I'm still looking at this. You wait any longer, that this prop's going, right? It's not going to be there any longer. But, everyone's going to keep hitting the overs of this. Higher. This marker's not going to move. And that's the truth, because the likeliness of him playing half a game and doing this again, it's just right there. You might get a little bit more cushion come Sunday, but I'd highly doubt it. Pick number 3 is a bet that I never thought I'd actually make this year. I can't believe I'm making this bet. Justin Herbert, higher than 21 and a half passing yards. It's come down by 1 yard. Thanks, underdog. Versus Tennessee. An incredibly risky option, it seems to me, considering that the Titans give it up on average the fewest passing yards per game at around 172. I was surprised when I saw that as well. They can get it up, and the better, if Mason Rudolph turns up, I feel like this game's going to go up. If it's Will Levis, he's going to throw 7 picks. They're going to have short yardage. They're just going to run it down their throat, and that's going to be the game. We know this. We've seen this for the first 3, 4, 5 weeks. That's generally what it is. I have zero faith in him. Mason Rudolph plays. He might be able to hold it a little bit more. This game might blow up. And I'm banking on Herbert to kind of take over in that regard. But in that regard, Herbert in a run-heavy team with dead receivers, he has crushed it in the air of late. You look at what Quentin Johnson, LaBaconque have been able to do. He's been working in some of the tight ends here or there. He's had some success, and that's pretty cool with him. Kamani Vidal's had the odd reception for 40 yards. That's all it takes for that prop to go, right? So, in his last few games, he's had 282, 279, and 349 in his last 3, and he's gone over this marker in 4 straight. So he's gone over 221, 222, 4 straight games. And I feel like he's kind of blowing it up, and he's at home. So I feel pretty good about this. So, his first month of the year, I don't believe he went over 180. So the corner has been turned for him, it seems. Justin Herbert's back. Wheels up. Let's go. Pick number 4 is a funny one to me. I don't know how I really feel. I don't know how I feel a lot about these bets because, receivers, I was talking to Kyle and Gladys and the doc in our group chat earlier, and I was saying to them before, I've really struggled with wide receivers. It's hard because the secondary wide receiver goes down. That first main wide receiver ends up getting caked, and that's no good. Quarterbacks have been dropping like flies. Everyone's been leaning on the run game. O-lines have been blowing up. No one's getting anywhere. So I hate betting on receivers. As you can tell by what I said about Nico Collins. On any other day of the week, Nico Collins goes over. His hamstrings, I'm not overly concerned about. I'm very concerned about. I'm not overly happy about the 71.5. That's why I'm going lower. But any other day of the week, he goes over. And I feel like that way. But we're going to go Cortland Sutton. We're going to go lower than 52.5 at Kansas City. Sutton has woken up of late. And I hate this prop because of that, because he's gone over 100 2 weeks straight, back-to-back games. Problem is, that's probably a counter reaction to what putting up 0 for 0 the week before those two. So he's been somewhat erratic in his matchups this year. Prior to week 7, 0 for 0. He's had 3 games under 40. So like the last couple of games, he's blown up. That's great. That's cool. But through his career, he hasn't done anything over 45 yards against the Chiefs since 2019. So like 5 years, he hasn't done anything. He's had 3 games under 30 in his last 5 outings in them. He really struggles against the Chiefs. His receivers around him are fickle at best. Who was it? Franklin and little Jordan Humphrey? Like, that's not really what you need. His tight ends kind of suck. It's a run-based game, and it's him, and he's getting there on volume alone. But we've seen with the Chiefs, and I spoke about this last week in my prop show last week, when it was regards to Baker Mayfield. It doesn't matter how good you are, they're going to stop all that. So for him to get over 52.5, I don't even think that's going to happen. And that sounds crazy considering the recent burst of form that he is in. Pick number 5, and, again, don't call it a comeback. We're going to say Aaron Rodgers higher than 234.5. It was 236.5. It's come down a couple of points. I'm still going over at Arizona. I feel pretty good about this. He's still alive. And, Aaron Rodgers has figured it out. Chuck the fucking ball in the air. That's it. Those guys are going to catch it. Garrett Wilson, he's going to catch it. Alan Lazard, probably going to catch it. Tyler Conklin, going to catch it. Devontae Adams, probably going to catch it. I would have said Mike Williams, but he's been traded to Pittsburgh, but that's neither here nor there. Look, it looks like he flipped the switch in that second half against the Texans, right? Like, it's not just me. The second half against the Texans, he had, 36 passing yards in the first half. Second half, he threw up, 200, give or take. So, it looked like the light bulb went off. The urgency was there. And you have to have that against the Cardinals, who are leading the NFC West. You have to have that urgency, knowing the Dolphins, we're going to talk about them, they're a Monday night game. They have a winnable game against the Rams coming up. Other teams in the AFC as well, they're kind of starting to pick up their pace as well. And if, as we said, the Jets want to make a playoff run, they have to win games like this against the Cardinals, and they're more than capable of doing it. And again, that switch goes off from last week. He barely pushed 210, though. So it is what it is. 230 for the week prior. However, 3 weeks prior to that, he crushed the marker and was in the idea of this, when Robert Saleh was there. It was kind of hard for you to go, okay, how do we trust Aaron Rodgers? He was kind of doing all right. Last week was a bit of a blip that first half, and the yards were kind of there, and then whatever. But, 236.5, I feel pretty good about that. Or 234.5, it was 236. I feel pretty good about that on the road at Arizona. He and the Jets get a favorable matchup on the road in a dome. First, the informed Cardinals, one of the Cardinals with one of the better implied totals of the week. Arizona have given up the 6th most passing yards of the year, around 240 per game. So they've given you 234. People are going under. They're saying, okay. Here we are. Now we're going to talk about Monday Night Football in a minute. Dolphins at the Rams. It sounds like a good game. Now, if you would have told me at the start of the year, what game would you be looking forward to on Monday Night Football? I would have said Miami versus Dolphin. The Miami versus Dolphin? Yeah, that sounds weird. The Miami Dolphins versus the LA Rams sounds like an absolute cracker, but whatever happened to the Dolphins, I have no idea. I said before, they look like the sort of team that's still playing with Tyler Huntley on the center. I just don't understand it. So they're kind of hard to trust. So when I saw the props drop on Monday, Tuesday for this game, I kind of went, I don't like anything here. And it's not that the lines are bad. It's not that they're egregiously bad. The lines are pretty much in the ballpark of what you think. It's just I have zero trust for any of the Miami players. So I've leaned on what I know. And this is going to sound like a broken record because, I'm a broken record. But we're going to go pick number 1. Where are we? Let's get that little tracker up. Where are you? There we go. Get this tracker up there. Where is it? There we go. Dolphins at Rams. Look at that little ticker down there. If you're watching the show, you can see that. If you're not, I've basically changed a font on the screen like I'm a pro. I'm 100% not a pro, but it doesn't matter. We're going to go pick number 1 higher than, or Kyron Williams. I just didn't even have to say his name. You would have known who I'm talking about. We're going to go Kyron Williams higher than half a rush receiving touchdown. Dolphins allowing second most touchdowns to running backs on the ground this year with 10 so far. So they're good for it, right? They've allowed 2 through the air. So 10 touchdowns through the year through 8 games for the Dolphins. So, not bad. 12 total through the year, through 8. I can see why you'd want to get on board with that. They've had some injuries in their D-line. Teams, they tend to stray from throwing it on them because their secondary is still pretty good, Jalen Ramsey and all that sort of stuff. So I get why the secondary hasn't allowed a lot of passing yards. The rush defense does. Why they let touchdowns in, I get it. Last week, though, however, Kyron Williams had his first game without a touchdown since week 14 of last season. So he's gone about 10 games, 12 games, 13 games. He's gone almost, 4 playoffs, 5, 8 games. He's gone nearly 13, 14 games with a touchdown, at least a touchdown in every game. So that's kind of wild, right? Has a blank this week, but he still had, over 20-odd combined touches and 90-odd yards. So, or 100-odd combined yards of 20 touches. So, he still had a pretty productive week. Just didn't come with a touchdown for once. So, not all doom and gloom. He's locked most weeks to score, and it's a good matchup to deal with. So when this prop drops, I am going Kyron Williams higher than half a touchdown. It's a certainty. The next one I saw this and I went, okay, that's kind of fair, but I don't really know where this is going. Matt Stafford lower than 246.5, up from 243. So people have been hitting this and they're going, oh, we got to put this up again. We got to put this up again. It's too low. And I'm just sitting there going, I really don't know what to expect here because, that Dolphin secondary is still pretty good. And, yeah, I mean, the Rams at home, you kind of got to think if this game can go off, this could be a thing. But I really don't trust either of these teams to give you what they want. And that's sort of where I'm at. So, so far this year, it's really stepped up his game from a year ago. I kind of feel like the Dolphins have done that. Also, part of it may have been the fact that, the teams were really good controlling the games with Tua being out for a while. Good for 5 weeks. These teams blow up high total games normally. Just wasn't happy. So part of the Dolphins' good form in the air is without doubt quality, but also a bit against them in that regard. So that's what I've been trying to say in a roundabout way. Stafford, though, again, if this game was on the road, I'd feel a bit more comfortable. But here we are, home game, primetime game. He should go over 243. I'm saying he should, but I just feel like it's one of those games where we go, okay, this game should be doing something, and it's just not going to go anywhere. I really feel awkward about this line. And again, how he's been playing of late. He's in decent enough form. He's been getting there with splash plays. It was DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Colby Parkinson's made plays again here or there. It's not that it's not been happening. I like how the line has come up a bit as well. So they feel like people have been comfortable hitting the overs on this too. So I'm getting a little bit more of a buffer as well. I just want everyone to hold on this prop. This game's not till Monday, so hold on this because that might rise maybe 251, 252, and I'm still taking the lowers on this one. So that's where I'm at. Third prop, again, I feel a little bit better about out of all three. Kyron Williams seems almost, again, automatic. But in that regard, Devon Achane, higher than 59.5 rush yards. I don't know how convinced I am with the Stafford props. I mentioned that before. But let's go with this. The Rams' run D is somewhat middle of the pack, about 110 yards per game on average given per week to the position. So when you think of the Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert split, their attempts per game is pretty much down the line at 11 each. They're both averaging around 11 attempts per game each on average. So that's kind of there as well. And you can work in some Jaylen Warren as well. So it's as even of a split as you can get. But then you look at the averages per game for him, it's 4.5 attempts per rush. So that's not too bad. He can get to about 50 rushing yards per game. So at 59.5, you're looking at an explosive run or a splash play to get him over the line. And he's got that in his bag. More importantly for the Dolphins, to be competitive, they need to keep up. If this game blows up, which it could, then that prop might not be there because you're talking about a guy that might get those dump-offs. And, you're going to look at what Devon Achane's been doing. He's been going 2-to-1 rush attempts to targets, which is kind of madness when you think about it. So if Miami, they can keep up with the Rams, he's going to get there with that rushing prop, whether it's attempts at 11, 11.5. I'm okay with going over with that. 59.5, the splash play in there as well. It's just one of those things. We can be business in Miami and keep up. If Tua starts playing like he did against Buffalo, I don't see where we can get there. But 59.5 doesn't seem unreasonable. Kind of gives me that Austin Eckler vibe, HN. You know how Austin Eckler had that year with Melvin Gordon and everyone's like, oh, it's Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler's going to work. And Austin Eckler's what, the RB2, but he was getting like 10, 11 rush attempts per game, but it's those targets that got him over the line. Kind of feels a lot like that at this point. HN, and I don't think it's egregious to say that was peak Eckler, and HN's kind of right there in that ballpark with him. I don't want to hear anyone saying he's better than him. That peak Eckler year was just something else. So calm down. We like what we do now, but, that's not really here nor there. Peak Eckler was something else. in that regard. But that's what we're going with this week. We're going to look at those props from top to bottom. But as I said before, underdog.com, not underdog fantasy, it's underdog.com. Promo code GF2 for $250 on your initial outlay matching deposit, as it would be. We're going to talk about Thursday night football. Bengals at Ravens. Let's go over this one more time. Let's wrap it up. Find us over in our GoingFor2 Discord as well. GoingFor2 Live. It's a great place to be. Come find us. Derrick Henry over 92.5 rushing yards versus Cincinnati. They're at home, obviously, the Ravens. And again, always Jamar Chase over on receiving yards. Thank you later. Pick number 2, Deontay Johnson, lower than 20.5 receiving yards. And pick number 3, loose tight ends. Mark Andrews, higher than 42.5. I like Andrews for a touchdown as well. Get on that. Mike Gesicki, higher than 44.5. Receiving yards, as it were. The Sunday game props. Pick number 1, Tyrone Tracy, higher than 70.5 rush yards versus Carolina. Remember, that game's in Munich, kicks off at about 9 o'clock in the morning. Pick number 2, Nico Collins, lower than 71.5 receiving yards versus Detroit. Hamstring re-aggravation, a little bit more conservative about that. Pick number 3, Justin Herbert, higher than 221.5 versus Tennessee. Pick number 4, Cortland Sutton, lower than 52.5 at Kansas City. Pick number 5, Aaron Rodgers, higher than 234.5 passing yards at Arizona. We're going to cross over into Monday Night Football, the Dolphins at Rams. Pick number 1, Kyron Williams, higher than half a rushing receiving touchdown. Pick number 2, Matt Stafford, lower than 246.5 passing yards. And pick number 3, Devon Achane, higher than 59.5 rushing yards this week on the road against the Rams. We stumbled through it, but it's okay. We got there. It's okay. It's a Wednesday. The mind's kind of blanked after whatever happened yesterday. The mind is a little numb. We're going to disconnect a little bit. We're going to put a few good bets on and have a whole bunch of fun. I hope you're all doing well. Best of luck this week. Safe bets, happy punts, cheers, and goodbye.